काउन्टर न्यारेटिभ्स एन्ड द डिकोलोनाइजेसन अफ एडभेन्चर स्पोर्ट्स भनेर डेनिसा क्रासमा जो चाहिँ चेक रिपब्लिकको पालेकी युनिभर्सिटीमा पढाउनुहुन्छ, उहाँले आफ्नो रिसर्च प्रेजेन्टेसन गर्नुहुन्छ। उहाँ चाहिँ त्यो युनिभर्सिटीमा पोस्ट डक हुनुहुन्छ अहिले। आजको एक हप्तापछि अर्थात् 29 अक्टोबरमा चाहिँ मार्टिन चौतारी र ऊर्जा खबरको संयुक्त रूपमा भइरहेको मासिक एउटा जुन श्रृङ्खला छ त्यसमा चाहिँ जलविद्युत विकास र पुँजी बजार चुनौती र सम्भावना भनेर रामकृष्ण खतिवडा जो चाहिँ नेपाल इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर ब्याङ्कको पूर्व प्रमुख कार्यकारी अधिकृत र विद्युत नियमन आयोगको पूर्व सदस्य हुनुहुन्छ, उहाँले बोल्नुहुनेछ। त्यो दिन अर्थात् 29 अक्टोबरमा चाहिँ चौतारीमा चौतारीले प्रकाशन गरेको किताबहरूको फ्ल्यास सेल छ, अप टु 50% डिस्काउन्ट, बिहान 11 बजेदेखि 5:15 बजेसम्म। सो त्यो चाहिँ तपाईँहरूलाई कुनै किताब किन्न मन छ भने बिग डिस्काउन्टमा त्यो दिन उपलब्ध हुनेछ। 3 र 5 नोभेम्बरमा चाहिँ हाम्रो रेगुलर सेमिनार्सहरू हुनेवाला छैन, किनकि त्यति बेला चाहिँ तिहार र छठको छुट्टी भएको हुनाले। र 10 नोभेम्बरमा चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ राजन खतिवडाजीले भर्खरै प्रकाशित गर्नुभएको एउटा होमिसाइड लज इन 19th सेन्चुरी नेपाल भन्ने किताबको बारेमा बुक डिस्कसन गर्छौँ। त्यो दिनको वक्ता चाहिँ राजन हिमसेल्फ बाहेक डाक्टर त्रिरत्न मानन्द हुनुहुन्छ र भिडियोमा चाहिँ सुभङ्ग पाण्डेको रिभ्यू पनि त्यो हामी देखाउनेछौँ। त्यसभन्दा पछिको प्रोग्रामहरू चाहिँ मार्टिन चौतारीको वेबसाइटमा, ट्विटरमा, फेसबुकमा हेर्न सक्नुहुन्छ। अर्को अनाउन्समेन्ट चाहिँ एन्ड अफ नोभेम्बर 27, 28, 29 नोभेम्बरमा चाहिँ मार्टिन चौतारीको एनुअल कन्फरेन्स छ। कन्फरेन्समा सेलेक्ट भएका एब्स्ट्र्याक्ट्सहरूको लिस्ट धेरै महिना अगाडि नै त्यो फाइनलाइज भइसक्यो हो। पेपर्सहरू ड्यू चाहिँ एन्ड अफ अक्टोबर। सो दसैँ तिहारको छुट्टीबाट फर्केपछि हामीले त्यो स्केड्युल बनाउँछौँ बेस्ड अन द पेपर्स वी हेभ रिसिभ। अनि त्यो अराउन्ड नोभेम्बर 7th or 8th चाहिँ कल फर पार्टिसिपेन्ट्स भन्ने पनि जान्छ। त्यो चाहिँ अब तपाईँ पेपर प्रस्तुत गर्दै हुनुहुन्न भने पनि 3 दिनको कन्फरेन्समा भाग लिन पाउनु हुनेछ। रेजिस्ट्रेसन फी चाहिँ रफली 700 रुपियाँ जति मात्र छ। त्यो इट डजन्ट इभन कभर द लन्च फर द 3 days। तर त्यो अनाउन्समेन्ट आउँदैछ। मैले ल्याउनु बिर्सेँ, तर चौतारीबाट भर्खरै एउटा किताब निस्केको छ, नेपाल इन द लङ 1950s भन्ने यो एडिटेड कलेक्सन हो। रमेश पराजुली, म र मार्टी लेख्तीले संयुक्त रूपमा सम्पादन गरेको 10वटा च्याप्टर छ। तपाईँहरूलाई किताब किन्न मन छ भने बजारमा भन्दा चौतारीमा किन्दा डिस्काउन्टमा पाउनुहुनेछ। अरू के छ अनाउन्समेन्ट? छैन है? छैन। ओके, अब एकचोटि कोठामा वरिपरि परिचय गरौँ। हजुर, के होइन, खास चाहिँ त्यो एउटा किताब सम्बन्धी छलफल हो। किताब चाहिँ राजन खतिवडा भन्ने नेपाली कलिग हु वर्क्स इन हाइडेलबर्ग युनिभर्सिटी, उहाँले निकालेको किताब हो। त्यो चाहिँ किताबको शीर्षक चाहिँ होमिसाइड लज इन 19th सेन्चुरी नेपाल भन्ने हो। किताब अहिले बज्र बुक्सले, त्यो पहिला हाइडेलबर्गबाट निस्क्यो, अब बज्र बुक्सले रिप्रिन्ट गरेर बजारमा किन्न पाइन्छ बज्र बुक्समा। त्यो किताबबारे छलफल छ भनेपछि त्रिरत्नले बोल्नुहुन्छ, अनि सुभङ्ग पाण्डेको चाहिँ रिभ्यू अफ द बुक भिडियोमा हामी देखाउँछौँ, र अनि अथर पनि त्यो दिन उपस्थित हुनुहुन्छ। परिचय
प्रशान्त दास, म साउथ इस्टर्न युनिभर्सिटीमा सोसियोलोजी पिएचडी गरेँ।
म महेश्वर गिरी, म उद्यान कुरा।
नमस्ते, म रमेश पराजुली।
म रवि प्रधान।
नमस्ते, मेरो नाम सिपी आर्याल।
नमस्ते, म निरञ्जन भक्तराम।
नमस्कार, म नवीन विभाग।
नमस्ते, म इन्द्र पौडा।
म रुख गुरुङ।
नमस्ते, म सरिता आचार्य।
आजको प्रेजेन्टेसनको टाइटल चाहिँ सिजनल रिजनल लेबर सर्टेजेस इन अ लेबर सर्प्लस इकोनोमी एभिडेन्स फ्रम रुरल नेपाल। अभियसली टाइटलबाटै कन्टेक्स्ट क्लियर हुन्छ होइन। नेपाल चाहिँ युजली लेबर सर्प्लस इकोनोमी भनिन्छ, तर सिजनल रिजनल लेबर सर्टेजेस पनि हुन्छ भनेर चाहिँ अब आई एक्सपेक्ट हिम टु कन्भिन्स अस द्याट इज इनफ्याक्ट द केस। मैले उहाँलाई चाहिँ ईश्वर अधिकारीजी आज स्पिकर, जो चाहिँ भर्खरै मार्च 2024मा उहाँले साउथ इस्टर्न युनिभर्सिटीबाट पिएचडी गर्नुभएको हो र अहिले नयाँ जब स्टार्ट गर्न लाग्नु भएको छ दिल्लीमा। अहिले उहाँको परिचय म छोटकरीमा भनौँ, तर इफ यु हेभ नोटिस यो चाहिँ यो अक्टोबर महिनामा चाहिँ साउथ एसियन युनिभर्सिटीबाट भर्खर पिएचडी गरिसक्नु भएकाहरू अथवा गर्दै गरेकोहरूको चाहिँ यो 3rd प्रेजेन्टेसन हो। यो चाहिँ हाम्रो सिपिजीले सबै साथीहरूलाई चाहिँ इमेल गरेर मलाई कन्ट्याक्ट गरिदिनु भएको हुनाले त्यो गर्न मिलेको हो। पार्टली चाहिँ अब सिपिजी जस्तो गुड्डा बोकेर नेपाल फर्केका मान्छेहरू पनि प्रेजेन्ट गर्नुभयो 1st of अक्टोबरमा। त्यसपछि आज चाहिँ तिहारमा फर्किने थाहा भएर अनि यो फिक्स भएको हो। यस्तै क्रम चाहिँ एक्चुअली नोभेम्बर डिसेम्बरमा पनि जारी हुनेछ, त्यो मैले अनाउन्स गर्नु अघि भन्नुपर्ने थियो। हाम्रो कन्फरेन्स हुनुभन्दा अगाडि र कन्फरेन्स पछाडि पनि कन्फरेन्सको लागि आउने मान्छेहरूको एउटा सिरिज अफ प्रेजेन्टेसन छ भनेपछि स्टार्टिङ फ्रम द 24 अफ नोभेम्बर त्यो प्रेजेन्टेसन्सहरू चाहिँ त्यसरी सिक्वेन्स भएको छ। पछि तपाईँहरूको अरू कलिग्सहरू साथीहरू तपाईँहरू आफै पनि प्रेजेन्टेसन गर्न मन छ काठमाडौँमा हुने बेलामा युजली काठमाडौँमा नबस्ने मान्छेहरूलाई चाहिँ यस्तो प्रेजेन्टेसन गर्न मन छ भने ट्राभल गर्नुभन्दा अगाडि हामीहरूमध्ये कसैलाई एउटा इमेल पठाउनु होला, हामी यसो स्केड्युल गर्न सक्छौँ। ईश्वरजीले चाहिँ मार्च 24मा साउथ एसियन युनिभर्सिटीको डिपार्टमेन्ट अफ इकोनोमिक्सबाट पिएचडी सिधाउनु भयो। उहाँको फिल्ड अफ सब फिल्ड विदिन द इकोनोमिक्स र डेभलपमेन्ट इकोनोमिक्स हो। त्यसको पनि अब सुपर स्पेसलाइज फिल्ड चाहिँ एग्रिकल्चर लेबर मार्केट डाइनामिक्स भयो। उहाँले चाहिँ वर्ल्ड ब्याङ्कको लागि कन्सल्टेन्टको रूपमा काम गर्नुभएको छ, भर्खरै गरिरहनु भएको थियो। बेसिकली उहाँको रिसर्च चाहिँ फोकसेस अन द इन्टरसेक्सन अफ एग्रिकल्चर एन्ड लेबर मार्केट्स विथ अ पर्टिकुलर एम्फोसिस अन इकोनोमिक ट्रान्सफर्मेसन। उहाँ चाहिँ यो एडभान्स इकोनोमेट्रिक टेक्निक्स र डेटा एनालिसिसको चाहिँ महागुरु हुनुहुन्छ र ल्यार्ज डेटा सेटको म्यानेजमेन्ट र त्यसको पोलिसी रेलेभेन्ट इन्साइट्समा उहाँको एक्सपर्टिज छ। म एकचोटि कुनै बेला चाहिँ पिएचडी इकोनोमिक्समा पिएचडी गर्न भनेर पुगेको र त्यहाँबाट डिपार्टमेन्टबाट फर्स्ट इयरको क्वालिफाइङ जाँच पास गरेर भएको लास्ट इकोनोमिस्ट भएको हुनाले र त्यो सबै पोलेर खाइसकेको हुनाले मैले उहाँलाई के रिक्वेस्ट गरेको छु भने अब के गर्नुहुन्छ गर्नुहोस्, तर हामी सबै इकोनोमिक्सको टेक्निकल कुरा नबुझ्ने मान्छेले बुझ्ने गरेर प्रेजेन्टेसन गर्नु भनेर रिक्वेस्ट गरेको छु। अब त्यही गर्नुहुन्छ। सो अबाउट 45 minutes.
Thank you, thank you, Martin Chautari, for this platform. I'm very delighted here to be here. And good afternoon, everyone. The paper, the work that I have done is very much technical, but I will try to walk you through, try to explain it in a very plain way that I myself find little difficult, but I will try my best. So when I started the topic, started to do the PhD, then I started to read about the agriculture in Nepal. Then I noted that there are a lot of literatures that talks about the labor shortage issues in Nepal. Mostly if you pick any literature that talks about the labor in Nepal, you will quickly notice that, oh, there is a severe situation of labor shortage. But then when I look back the classical literatures, starting from the China of 1926 and then coming to the Louis, I noted that the macro picture of the Nepal, it features the characteristics of a surplus labor economy. So that puzzled me how a surplus labor economy at macro level is having a labor shortage within the agriculture. So that is how I started my journey, and then I tried to dig into deeper, and then I think I have some story to tell you today about the this work. However, it might not be complete, and a lot of work might needed, but it certainly encourages people to look this issue in particular way. That is the main point here. So let me walk you through some data a little bit. Mostly it's the data, but I will also try to give you some story. So if you have any questions in between, please note them down. I would like to take them at the end of the session. Thank you. So as I said, when we look into the classical literature of Louis 1954, who was a Nobel Prize winner also for the same paper, I think. So what he says is the surplus labor economy is an economy where the population is so large in that sector that their marginal productivity of labor is very low, sometimes negligible or even negative. There is a huge discussion about this negative productivity, which I am not going to talk. But the main message is it's very much low. Then in such economy, what happens is the labor supply is unlimited. Unlimited in what sense? It has a particular sense, is that the potential quantity of labor that supplied to the formal sector is actually entire labor force. Everybody wants to work in the formal sector, but at the current substance wage has its own meaning, we can discuss, but at the current wage we can say for the time being. However, the formal sector employers do not want to employ all of them who would like to work. In that sense, the supply of labor is unlimited in such economy. The important thing we have to note is that the surplus labor applies only to unskilled labor. So skilled labor can always be scarce in any economy, specifically in developing economy like Nepal. So two particular things, important thing. First is very low productivity, the characteristics of such economy, or specifically the sector, particularly agriculture I'm talking about. And then labor force is, and the supply of labor is unlimited at the current wage. And for the unskilled labor, it applies only to the unskilled labor. So when we look into the data, the blue line shows the labor force that's engaged in the agriculture. It's, the data is from the World Development Indicator 2024. We can see that the from 1991 to when we come to 2022, it has not declined much. From around 78, it has reached to 61. So with annual decline in the percentage is per annum, it's less than 1%. So the period is 31. So it's around 0.748% per annum. It's decreasing. So this is one of the motivation that is also what encouraged me to do. So with this level of decrease in the employment from the agriculture, it will take more than 95 years even to half it, to come to, let's say, 30% from the 61%, and to reach the current level of GDP, which is around 61%, means agriculture is supporting to the GDP, 21% actually. So it will take more than 140 years. So this is just to show that the transformation that's happening in Nepal, it's very, very slow. Even if when we compare it with any South Asian countries, maybe other than Afghanistan. So this picture mostly says that at macro there is a huge surplus, but there is no literature that actually quantify how much surplus labor is there. That's why this my work also exists to some extent, but that's not the main thing. So other renowned authors also categorize the Nepal as a surplus labor economy whenever they has a discussion of Nepal. But the catch comes from the observation of huge labor, huge literature, or even policy documents that talk about the labor shortage in Nepal. So there are mostly area-specific studies. There, some of these I have quoted here. I have mentioned it here. So the phenomena of feminization, most of us know it, and then how this labor shortage thing has been talked about in Nepal, particularly in Nepal, is also very important to consider. So what most of the literature does is, whenever they look into the relationship between migration and the agriculture, and when they see, okay, along with migration, the agriculture agriculture production has declined, then there is a conclusion they draw is, oh, this is because now migration has happened. This is because of there is no labor available because of migration. That's why it's happening. So that's the causal channel they are trying to make. So most of the literature does that. I departures little bit from here. That is also one edition of my work that we will discuss. there are two studies at national level. One is since 2014, it's still a working paper, Tuladar, published in a working paper series of the Asian Development Bank, and another is Panther 2013. So Tuladar uses the Living Standard Survey 2010-11 cross-sectional data and use the instrumental variable method and see that okay, migration has reduced the paddy yield in Nepal. Similarly, Panther 2013 uses the time series data from 1993 to 2001. I think it comes around 19 years. Then they also shows that okay, with additional each level of foreign migration apart from India, excluding India, it reduces the domestic product, gross domestic product of agriculture. So both of them have similar conclusion. Actually, most of them have similar conclusion, but at national level also, both of them have similar conclusion. That's okay. Migration has now led to the labor shortage. Tuladar even says, quote, this loss of household labor due to the large scale out migration may not be substituted with the hired labor due to the absence of surplus labor, even in a largely agrarian economy like Nepal. So this absence of surplus labor is a very important term that I find in this literature, which basically means, according to the Lucian theory, what basically happens is, so till in surplus labor economy, the as I said, at the current ways, labor supplied are unlimited, but after the turning point that we say, after a particular point of transition, then labor wage starts to increase in a very sharp rate. You can see the kink over there. It's not like a normal trend, but it starts a very sharp increase. After that, economy enters into the market economy, perfect market economy, where demand and supply are largely determined by the market, and also the production that household does also is determined by the market. So agriculture has to start into the market economy after the absence of surplus labor. That's the broad idea. But then, but then a macro picture we didn't saw. There is a huge labor, and at the observational level also we can see that formalization is very low in all sectors of Nepal, and in agriculture it's mostly substance. So it gives us a need the thinking that okay, the labor shortage that they are talking might not be there, or might be a particular form that needs particular attention. And whenever we talk about the labor shortage issue, the questions of labor surplus has to be there to bring the some concrete answer. I will not say concrete, but some answers to it. Otherwise, it will be a little incomplete, or we are just running, hitting around the bush, I think. So that's why we ask a broader question here, is to how to understand the history of labor shortage in a labor surplus economy, specifically in the rural agriculture of Nepal. But then there is one issue that there is no literature that also shows that there is labor shortage in Nepal. So that is what we also do through three sub questions, particularly here, is if Nepal has surplus labor at all, and if yes, how much, what's the extent of it. And then second, we look into the nature of surplus and shortage, spatial or temporal or seasonal. And then we also bring the story of the inter-community labor movement that's happening during the season in agriculture in rural Nepal. So that's the three sub questions that I try to answer broadly. Broadly, my data analysis is based on the we say primary data, but people like to also call it a secondary data also. The raw data sets from the household living standard survey 2010-11, and also the household risks and vulnerability survey panel data from 2016, 17, and 18. Mm, yeah. So let's go further. So the first part we saw is that there is a we present the estimation of surplus labor, and here we also examines the role of migration in this story of the labor shortage, but might be a little different way that I'm using here than that you might have expected. But yeah, methodology I have used means roughly is the Cobb-Douglas production function I have used to estimate the productivity and then the extent of surplus labor. And then I have also used the instrumental variable method and the propensity score matching method to understand the migration and agriculture relation. So this is one of the results that comes through. So what I would like to focus you right now is the column 5, that is marginal productivity of labor. At national, we have estimated it at national and three geographical region, mountain hill Tarai, and then sub regions, RH is rural hill, eastern, central, western, so like that. So what we can notice very quickly in the column 5 is that marginal productivity of labor is very low. And when we compare it with the agricultural rural wage per day, it's a lot, right? And productivity is also a little okay. Average harvest. So marginal productivity of labor is quite low. It's compared to the average value of harvest per labor and the rural wage. So using these two metrics, what we do is we try to calculate the equilibrium labor of labor days that is needed in the agriculture at the existing wage rate. And then we also calculate the total labor days that has gone. And then surplus labor is the difference between these two, and we have calculated the percentage at the last column, the ratio of surplus labor to the total labor. We can see that most of the values are higher than 80. So at national level and regional level also, and similar situation is there for the different agroecological zone. So the people mostly find that there is a situation going we are talking about labor shortage, and then how we have huge surplus labor. That's one of the questions that often comes up. That's why I have put a figure for China also. In 1993 to 97, if we look into China, there are various estimates that range from surplus labor range from 53% to 71%, and the recent China the estimate available from 2000 to 2008, it's around 10 to 31% based on different sources of the data. So in that context, the level of development that's transition Nepal has seen, I feel it's a reasonable region, that reasonable figure that's where found. Regarding the migration, here I have circled the coefficient. So it basically says that migration. So this is the household level data. So migrant household often used to lose around 7,000, 5 to 7,000. It also differ based on various methods. So through matching methods, maximum negative we see is means maximum loss we found is around 11,000. So now it's true that migration has reduced the agriculture production in the agriculture, but can we label it as a labor shortage? Uh, I think for it's no, because if we read the literature, classical literatures, we will find that the means the migration is the fundamental process of any transition that happens, right? So simply happening migration doesn't lead to the labor shortage, shouldn't also lead. But then how to understand these negative relationships? So there are some literatures that has recently also come up that discuss about the loss of the human capital rather than the labor itself. That's the reason for the negative relationship between agriculture production and migration. That I have not carried out, but some of the literature in other countries that also exists. But here, for the purpose, there is a definition that we can find in the literature, specifically Lewis 1972. Uh, so the reduction in output has to be less than the consumption migrant might have consumed in the option of them migrating. So basically, if the reduction is less than what they might have consumed if they have not migrated, then that's the situation of surplus labor situation, not the shortage situation. But then we figured out that the only food consumption per capita on non-migrant household, assuming non-migrant, so we have used the matching technique. So it tries to balance, make the migrant household and non-migrant household similar to a large extent. So in that case, so non-migrant household food consumption per capita is 17,000. So assuming this might have been the consumption that migrant might have consumed, the reduction that has happened due to their migration is maximum value that we calculate is only around 63%. So with the definition, we find that Nepal is still surplus level. So these are various robustness things that I have done, but the one conclusion. So there are three conclusions here. The first part of the conclusion that we saw is there is obviously huge amount of surplus labor in Nepal, and the most important thing is that migration has definitely reduced the agriculture production on the migrant household, but the mere reduction in output doesn't imply that the economy has reached to the recent turning point, which is after which we actually start to see the labor shortage, and after which the agriculture economy also starts to function as if it's the perfect market. So that has not happened. But the obvious question in this part that is still coming is that what explains the puzzle of labor shortage in the context of where there is a huge situation of surplus labor. There has to be something going on in the market or in the agriculture economy itself that people are talking about the labor shortage, right? So we try to dig it up a little bit.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Quick clarification question. Like, how are you defining the labor shortage here?
Yes, that's the second part we are coming out. So, but most of the literature, how they have defined surplus labor is means not defined actually. They conclude labor shortage is simply when you do the analysis of migrant along with the agriculture production. If there is a negative relationships, then they often conclude there is a labor shortage. That's the conclusion most of the literature has done. That is what I'm trying to abstain from, and that is not what I'm trying to conclude. What I'm trying to say is, even in that situation, we actually cannot conclude that there is labor shortage. There might be something different that's happening. So that's what we are going to the next phase. This is a little, again, most of the things are technical, but the idea here is I basically use the try to understand it through the labor market imperfection with using the household separation framework. So under this framework, what happens is if there is a shortage situation, if there is a situation of absence of surplus labor, then the agriculture economy should work as if it is a perfect market is working very perfect, right? That is what separation hypothesis also try to use. What it basically says is under the perfect market, there should be no relationship between what household produce and what household consume. Means in a substance game, what happens is household usually grow what they consume, but in perfect they are supposed to grow for the market, right? Then it also implies that there should not be relationships between how much agriculture demands its labor in a particular household and how much member is there, potential labor we call here, that should also not be related. The labor applied should be optimum. So that's the basic idea. So we are trying to test this hypothesis along with some little advanced version of it, and in that advanced version it has a particular definition that it has, and then it says, okay, in this situation we can say it's a labor shortage situation market, and this is the situation that labor surplus situation. That is the broad idea. So these are I'm skipping. So the red circle I would like you to focus on a little bit. So using, this is a method that I adopted from the Delham 2019. It's the latest paper that comes with this methodology. So the idea is that if so, there is a delta E plus. So delta E plus is basically potential labor. Basically, it's the household member that's there who can provide the labor to the agriculture. So delta basically is the change over the time. So we are using a panel data. So positive is if it has increased, that's the positive. If it has decreased, that's the negative. So we are trying to see the relationships of this with the labor demand that has gone to the agriculture. In the perfect competition, in the perfect situation, labor, this coefficient should not have any relationships with the labor demand that has gone to agriculture if it's working at a perfect market in the absence of surplus labor. That's the idea. So here, if we see the coefficient of delta E plus greater than the coefficient of delta E minus, then that's the surplus situation. And if the coefficient of delta E minus is greater than delta E plus, that's the shortage situation. I'm really sorry I had to put this. I really don't know how to make it more easier, but you can ask me any questions if you have here in this particular framework. But the broad idea we can discuss also a little bit later through the graph that I have here. Oh, it's not here, but I can show maybe through the whiteboard a little bit later. So that's the main idea here, how to identify the labor shortage and labor surplus situation in the agriculture of Nepal. So with this we estimate our model, and then what we see is, so if there is any relationship between this and between the potential labor in the household and the labor demand that has gone to the agriculture, then that's the situation of imperfect market, which basically says that, oh, the agriculture market, labor market is not a perfect, which we expect if there was no surplus labor. So 3 star basically indicate that there is this statistically significant value here the idea, I would like to focus you only on the red circle. So we can see the coefficient of delta E plus is greater than delta E minus. According to the definition that I just showed, this is a situation of, if you can help me out, give it, situation of labor surplus, right? So this is at national level that I have carried out. So at what it says is the other coefficient are important, but we will not discuss. What it basically says is that, okay, at large, there is a situation of surplus labor. So this is a different method that we have used, other than the another method that productivity method that I recently also see. So with both methods, we can see that there is a situation of surplus labor. With the lack of this method that I am using right now, this one is that we don't know the extent, but we assume it's the high. So then we also disaggregate the data into the different season. The season is dry, rainy, and winter that I have categorized. So basically, the dry season runs from January to May, and rainy season runs from May to September. So Nepali month is also there, Jes to Bhadra, and winter season is Ashwin to Push. So this categorization I adapted from the labor force survey 2008. So, but you can help me out if I have to change the name. That would be very helpful also. So we carry out this also at a season level, dry, rainy, and winter. So in all of the season, we can note that the delta A plus is always higher than the delta A minus, which is again the indication that there is a situation of surplus error even at the different season level. But then where is the shortage, right? So that's the question we are still digging out. We dig further. We disaggregate the data at the mountain hill and Tara, and according to the season also, it has to do something there. Then what we found is that mountain hill region in the rainy season, if we note, the delta E minus becomes a greater value than the delta E plus, which is an indication that, okay, during the rainy season, there is labor shortage situation in the mountain and hill. But then during the dry and winter season, if we note, delta E plus becomes little is greater, which is basically surplus situation. So basically, for the mountain, it my method, my result shows that during the rainy season, yes, there is a labor shortage situation in mountain and hill, but not in the dry and winter season. But then in the Tarai, it's the dry season that it faces with the labor shortage. In other situation, there is no labor, means there is actually is labor surplus situation. So long situation of surplus. So the story here is that, okay, as literature has suggested in Nepal, it's not like the general labor shortage that we are noticing. It's the particular pockets or particular season is the situation that we are seeing the labor shortage. Why this is important? This is very important because the policy document also, if you refer specifically the Pradhan Mantri agriculture modernization policy, I think. So even there, they clearly recognize the labor shortage as if it's the general phenomena, and then they recommend the mechanization. Definitely, mechanization is important, and it has to be there for the purpose of productivity. But if it's for the purpose of labor itself, I think we should be a little bit cautious there. That's the main thing. Then we try to see if this situation gets little bit better in the situation of labor shortage gets little bit better or goes away in the community that receives the labor through inter-community labor movement. So household risks and vulnerability survey also captures this notion of labor movement. That is what we are using here. So what we noted, if without going to the graph, is that we noted that the community that receives the labor through inter-community labor movement, that the Tarai region that has in Tarai that has not seen the labor shortage situation, and market seems to work as if it's the perfect working market for the labor. But in the community that doesn't receive the seasonal labor through inter-community labor movement, the shortage of labor still persists. For the mountain and hill region, what we noticed is that in mountain and hill region, the labor shortage, the situation gets little better, but labor shortage still persists. But the data was coming from 2016, 17, and 18 panel data. In 2015, we had a earthquake, and that also demanded a lot of labor for the construction work. So that also comes into little bit play here to observe the labor shortage in rainy season, in mountain and hill, in the community that receives the seasonal labor. Yeah, not receiving seasonal labor, that persists. So to know if it's the earthquake related issue, what we do, I have not presented paper result here, but what I did is uh, excluded the labor earthquake affected districts from the data, and then redo the work. And there we observe that for those after the exclusion, even in mountain and hill region, for the community that receives the inter-community labor movement, the labor situation goes away. But for the community that doesn't receive this labor through labor from other communities, the sort of situation persists. So we have different robustness check. We will not go through that. So the basic idea here is using the different method and different data sets, we again reconfirm that the existence of surplus labor at large, and the disaggregated labor market has an important play to role here to observe the seasonal and temporary labor shortage in Nepal that we observed. And inter-community labor movement has a very important role to play to mitigate the labor shortage situation. Yeah, that's the conclusion here, but little bit I would like to extend it is, so then we try to understand where this inter-community labor movement comes to, and what are the probability that they come to particular community and all that. I will just try to go through that. I think the time is little late passing out. So broadly what we see is that the community that receives labor has a better infrastructure near to the VDC and better road connected, and I will and they also have a higher yield of major crops. That's there. I will quickly go through. So the house community that receives the seasonal labor, they also use the modern inputs of seeds and fertilizer more. Expenditure is also more. So yeah. So basically, the probability of labor receiving is also determined by the quality of road and distance to road, and also the dominant caste of the community. So for example here, the compared to Dalit, Muslim and other dominant, so this survey has an important variable that also captures what's the dominant community in this particular community, dominant caste in this particular community. So using that, compared to the community that has a Dalit, Muslim and other as a dominant community, Brahmin, Kshetri, Thapuria, Sannyasi, which we call BC, In short, these community are more likely to receive labor compared to Dalit, Muslim, and other community. And indigenous people are also community with a dominance of indigenous nationality are also more likely to get labor from outside. And Madhesi community is not much. So I would like to walk you through one of the regression, one of the result. I think it's not here. So one of the results that I wanted to highlight here is, means it's not here. It seems I missed that. Is that the road becomes important determinant of whether particular community receives labor from outside or not, specifically in mountain and hill region, but not much in the Tarai region. Definitely it's important, but not much in Tarai. And the what becomes more important in Tarai is the caste of the dominant community. But that is, I'm not finding that in case of the mountain and hill region. I don't know why. Maybe you can help me out here. That is one thing that I wanted to highlight. There are other things that I wanted to highlight it, but for the time being, I will skip that. Yeah, there are some positive relationships of paddy production in the community that receives labor, and yeah, they definitely use more of the inputs and all that stuff. Better agriculture is there overall in the community that receives the labor. So yeah, that's the conclusion I want to make from the part 3. So overall, what we try to do is to the important thing is to bring the issue up front when we discuss about the labor shortage in particularly in Nepal. We have to also think through the labor surplus, how these two are going together, and try to understand and look into the broader perspective. So my work highlights this lacking actually in overall development economics. So that is one of the contributions that I draw and try to bring the attention to the larger research community, specifically in Nepal. This phenomena is also observed in India, but no work is there, and other African countries is also there, but work needed to be done. So overall, through various data source and various methods, we reconfirm the existence of surplus labor. However, there exists a labor shortage, but the shortage has a character, spatial and time dynamics to it. It's not a general labor shortage. It's the particular community and particular time period that it has. And intercommunity labor movement has an important role to play to mitigate this labor shortage situation in case of Nepal. And in mechanization, this is a little always a topic of discussion and reviews thing. Again, I'm not against the mechanization; it has to be there, but it has to be there for the productivity purpose rather than replacing the labor. And I think the labor we should increase the intercommunity labor movement in case of to mitigate the situation of labor shortage. Thank you. Through this work, I have also done some small field survey that is just to out of my curiosity, and I could not run the full-fledged survey because of the COVID. And I think the qualitative work of this will be much needed and helpful to understand the phenomena better. Thank you so much to listening to me. If you have any questions, please push forward. I will try to answer them. But I'm sure there are a lot of questions that I might not be able to, but I will try my best. Yes.
ईश्वरजीलाई धन्यवाद। अब हाम्रो पालो क्वेसन्स अथवा कमेन्ट्सहरू गर्न पाइयो। क्वेसन्स र कमेन्ट्स गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अलि ब्रिफमा गरिदिनु भयो भने सबैले बोल्न पाउँछ। सुरु गरौँ।
I'm sorry if it was little technical.
यो मैले अघि भनेको थिएँ नि, यो मैले इकोनोमिक्स सबै पोलेर खाइसकेँ। संसारमा सबै लेबर मार्केट्सहरू सेगमेन्टेड हुँदैन. So the point you were, one of the conclusions you drew was that अब सेगमेन्ट लेबर मार्केटको कारणले गर्दाखेरि लेबर सर्टेजहरू हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ if you agree with me, my first proposition, all labor markets are segmented भन्यो भने maybe I've forgotten stuff that
I think it depends upon the particular context that we're trying to put this question. If you say that okay, the segmentation is there for IT and teachers, that's not the segmentation that I'm talking about. So I'm particularly, the focus of this today is only the unskilled labor. So unskilled labor can move to any sectors. There is a friction definitely, but the idea of unskilled labor is that they needed mostly manual labor and they can move to any sectors as needed. So segmentation here comes particularly the geographical segmentation, in the sense that the movement, let's say for example, if somebody is needed in the Lalitpur, nobody is coming to that particular place to work in agriculture from maybe Dharin. So in that context, it's the segmented, and the labor movement is needed for that to work up. In the perfect market, the labor can move from any place to anywhere whenever they need it. So that facilitation has to be there. So that is the kind of segment that I'm particularly talking about. So in that case, let's say for example, if we talk about India, there are a lot of facilitation that government provide or community provide to the migrant people who are coming to work in agriculture. For example, in Punjab, they provide temporary settles for them and all other stuff, and also the transportation is very cheap. If I have to go from Bihar to the, let's say for example from Delhi that I usually travel, I can travel it in the 250, I can travel it at 500. So these are the facilities for the movement of labor. So that also help to mitigate the segmentation of the market. So in the segmentation that here I'm talking is, I think, in the context of the movement. So if there is no movement, there is a segmented market.
So, one additional question. So at the end of your presentation, you said because of COVID, you couldn't do extensive field work. What were you intending to do and why?
I was intending to, so basically, if the data is not representative, then nobody takes the study seriously. And it was a econometric analysis also in economics we had to do. So we needed at least 300, 400, 500 of the data points. So I intended to do the field survey along with the story that comes in, which data mostly miss. I tried to do a field survey representing the mountain and hill region, specifically hill region, because the story can be different, and representing the Chautari, at least collecting 700 data and stories, but I could not do. In the replacement of that, I did it's a focus group discussion or a key informant interview in my nearby places, where there are situations of in Nepali they also call it batase labor, who comes once they are needed and then they vanish tomorrow. You have not heard of this? I don't know. So the term is there, batase labor. I don't know what's it called in Nepali. So this phenomena is there, and then I try to understand which community are these who are supplying labor and where they are going, and their dynamics little bit I try to understand. And the caste is a very important role to play there. Definitely, as soon as I definitely I should take that back. So the higher community, so there are segmentation of the community in the settlement also. So higher community, higher caste community are not supplying labor to the socially lower caste. It should not have to be Dalit, but socially lower caste other communities. For example, Tharu. So Brahmin, Kshetris of the hill who are migrated, they will not supply the labor to the Tharu's community who are nearby. but Tharu community does supply labor, agricultural labor to the Brahmin Chautari. So this kind of dynamics was also there, and then road connection and things are also there. We can discuss more if we want. About this.
अरू सोध्नु Yes, please.
I'm still trying to get my head around your core premise about the shortage, labor shortage, where to my like a simple framework, it would be like the difference between the demand and the supply, right?
Yes.
So if there is a demand for labor in a particular area or industrial sector, and there is not enough supply of those, and then you create the differences, right? And I have not seen in your analysis like how you base your premise based on like how you establish that gap, right? And it's also very curious. I'm very curious that you have still taken the migration to kind of compute the shortage here because then you are comparing two different people. Although you have used your PSM, what you can maximum do with the PSM is that you match with the observations, right? That's the thing that you have observed. But we know like the someone who migrated are systematically different from those who have not migrated, right? So to say that, that reduction of the consumption or increase in the consumption would represent the supply or the shortage is kind of is interesting. I think that requires much more explanation than just because and then you come to the explanation later on in your third section where you show this regression table, which is highly confounded, right? So it might not be the cost that's explain things; it may be the education, which is different. Of course, they are coding, but some people might have moved out because they are high, their marginal productivity is high. That means they are going into industry and services, right? And they do not want to contribute to the low productive sector. And then the low productive sector will be supplied by someone who already have that, which is say basically from the Tarai or it's different cost. So kind of the conclusion that you have drawn is confounding, I guess, and require much more rigorous analysis.
Thank you. I don't know what the rigorous analysis really means here, but I do understand.
Yeah, means what rigorous understanding means is that you are absolutely sure that what your explanatory variable is actually causing this direction. Right? That's called the rigorous.
So throughout this analysis, I have not tried to establish the causality. First thing that I have to make clear means there are some bits and not of that, but causality is not the main thing here in this story. One thing I would like to clarify again to audience, if there are any online also, is that so migration and labor agriculture output has always been taken as a guaranteed explanation for the labor shortage in Nepal. That is what I am not trying to say. That is what I am showing the red light here. That hey, see the negative relationships or a simply migration reducing the agricultural output doesn't mean labor shortage. That is what my analysis also tried to do in the first part. Because the transition and transformation of economy, specifically the labor transformation, always has to have through the migration. Either it's in the abroad, which is the larger phenomena in Nepal, or it's local. So migration is always fundamental to the transformation. In the migration process, it could lead to the reduction, or it could not if the similar similar level of inputs are provided to make up the lost input whatever is necessary, or we might not be able to do that because it's the human capital that might replace, right? Means the, as you said, the better man who can maybe for example do the drop irrigation. If that migrates, then other people might not be able to do so. Agriculture production might reduce, though input is still there, same amount of labor might still be there, agriculture production still reduces. That doesn't mean there is a labor shortage. That is what I'm trying to say in the first part. And there are theoretical reasons that I try to draw also. First response is this. Second question was about the demand and supply. Yes, what you said, the difference between the demand and supply of the labor is one of the easiest way to try to find out the labor shortage and surpluses. Some of the author in India, one author, I forgot the name, 2023 paper, I think, they try to do that. How they actually note down the labor that has gone to agriculture and how much potential labor that they can supply from the household, and try to understand the difference. That is not possible for me to do, but I use the statistical method where there is still the notion of demand and supply is definitely there, but not like as a difference that we would often like to see, but in a so basically here my dependent variable is the uh, labor demand that has gone to agriculture, and the important interest variable is the potential labor, which is the proxy for the supply here. So that is what I have used. It might not be what you said like the perfect demand and supply, but it's an important component of it, and it has some statistical method that I try to see that okay, there are situations of largely surplus and shortage in particular context. Yeah, I don't know if I answered it everything, but yes.
अरू कुरा कमेन्ट क्वेसन्स हात उठाउँ
So I would also like to guide me you through some of the understanding that I have always faced. Means it's myself. If you have, means if you don't have question, it's like why do we potentially might have observed the labor shortage in Chautari during the dry season. In rainy season, yes, we can understand, but why in dry season? So basically, the dry season we have categorized it as Magh, Phagun, Chait, and Baisakh. How to understand that is an important thing to, if you have any field observations or anything on that, you can let me know. But yeah, question first.
यो चाहिँ तपाईँको डाटा चाहिँ यसले नेपाल लिभिङ स्ट्यान्डर्ड सर्भेको बेसी चाहिँ के हो यो चाहिँ तपाईँको
हजुर
यो डाटाहरू चाहिँ बेसी चाहिँ के हो यो चाहिँ
mostly data first part comes from the Living Standard Survey 2010-11, and then second, third part mostly comes from the Household Risks and Vulnerability Survey, panel survey for the 6,000 household, conducted by the World Bank, and it's freely available on 2016, 17, and 18.
मेरो क्वेसन भन्दा पनि ओपिनियन चाहिँ जस्तै जुन हामीले लार्ज स्केल सर्वेको डेटा युज गरेका छौँ नि त्यसमा हामीले डेटा सेटलाई यदि राम्रोसँग हेर्ने हो भने चाहिँ त्यहाँ क्रप एक्टिभिटी वाइज डेटा हुँदैन। जस्तै कि धानको खेती हुँदैछ भने धानको त चरण हुन्छ नि, बिउ राख्ने हुन्छ, त्यसपछि रोपाइ हुन्छ, त्यसपछि चाहिँ झारो खन्ने हुन्छ। त्यसरी चाहिँ एक्टिभिटी वाइज चाहिँ इन्फर्मेसन कलेक्सन नहुँदाखेरि चाहिँ हाम्रो जुन लार्ज स्केल डेटा सेट जो एग्रिकल्चर लेबरै क्यालकुलेट गर्नको लागि गरेको सर्वे हुन्छ त्यस्तो खालको सर्वेमा चाहिँ मेरो विचारमा अन्डर इस्टिमेसन र ओभर इस्टिमेसन, मलाई लाग्छ अन्डर इस्टिमेसन धेरै भइरहेको हुन्छ। किनभने एउटा क्रपको एकैचोटि चाहिँ 80 दिन भनेर त्यसरी चाहिँ रिपोर्टिङ भएको हुन्छ होइन, त्यो त सिरियस प्रब्लम हुन्छ नि। र त्यही डेटामा बसेर हामीले चाहिँ चाहिँ 86.84% चाहिँ सरप्लस लेबर सर्टेज छ भन्ने कुरा राख्छौँ भने त्यो त कन्टेस्टेड अनकन्भिन्सिङ हुनसक्छ नि, त्यसमा के छ ओपिनियन?
Sorry, what was the last part?
जुन डेटा जुन हामीले टोटल लेबर युज इन एग्रिकल्चर जसरी हामीले क्यालकुलेट गर्छौँ नि, त्यसमा चाहिँ क्रपको एक्टिभिटी वाइज म्यान डेज क्यालकुलेट भएको हुँदैन होइन। एकैचोटि चाहिँ क्रप वाइज धान लगाउँदाखेरि यति दिन जान यति दिन खर्च भएको छ भन्ने हिसाब हुन्छ। त्यो त एउटा सिरियस अन्डर एस्टिमेसन र ओभर एस्टिमेसन कसरी रिपोर्टिङ भएको छैन। त्यस्तो हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ अब हाम्रो चाहिँ यहाँ फाइन्डिङमा चाहिँ 86.84% चाहिँ सरप्लस लेबर देखेको छ नि, त्यो आफैमा पनि एउटा डाउटफुल फाइन्डिङ हो नि त होइन। त्यसमा चाहिँ के छ ओपिनियनहरू, एक्सपिरियन्सेसहरू?
डेटाले पार्टिकुलरली मैले युज गरेको डेटाले मन्थ वाइज रेकर्ड गर्छ, यो मन्थमा चाहिँ अन एभरेज कति काम गरेर त्यो हिसाबले गर्दाखेरि डेफिनेटली डेटा आर अलवेज मिन्स if I ask, are you feeling happy right now? You might be confused or say no, right? So this thing is always there in data, but about the estimation of surplus labor, that is 80%. I am not much dubious about that, because in a similar level of development, if you look into the other countries. Like for example, the China that I referred, they also have a huge labor surplus, similar to the figure that I have found out. So in that case, yes, we would like to say there is the history of shortage is there and all that, but then the larger picture is a huge labor surplus, and yeah. Another thing I would like to also highlight is that in literature of Nepal, people often like to highlight the shortage story. One of the things that go with the current, right, or what's trending. So one of the thing I found from one of the renowned economists that I will not name is like they visited 2 places, did a survey, they submitted a report to somebody else, and then from in the 2 places, one place they found the surplus. It's not surplus, it's not a surplus, it's that they didn't found that migration has not reduced the agriculture production. In another they find, okay, migration has reduced the agriculture production. Then in the journal they only come up with the first part of, okay, there is a labor shortage in the place. So this thing is also there, people would like to go with that, but yeah, I am confident on the number. But definitely there are always ups and downs based on the quality of data.
Any further questions? Yes, please.
म ढिलो भएँ, सरी। तपाईले भन्नुभएको कुरामध्येमा एउटा चाहिँ अब लेबर चाहिँ के अरे यो एग्रिकल्चरको जुन चाहिँ टाइमभन्दा बाहिर अर्को समयमा पनि लेबरको स्कार्सिटी किन हुन्छ भन्ने कुरा भयो नि तपाईँको।
मेरो कुरा चाहिँ जस्तै
यसो गर्नु, यो तपाईँको प्रेजेन्टेसन चाहिँ रिपिट गर्दाखेरि त अरू सबैलाई अनफेयर हुने भयो। यो पछि हाम्रो सेसन सिनेपछि साकेजी र तपाईँको प्राइभेट गफ
मैले यदि त्यो कुरा सत्य हो भने मलाई फिल भयो कि अहिले कुरा सुन्दा सुन्दै कर्णाली भेगमा अनि अरू धेरै ठाउँमा चाहिँ के देखिन्छ भन्दाखेरिमा चाहिँ एग्रिकल्चरको समय उनीहरूले छुट्याएको हुन्छ। अब त्यसपछि अरू अफ सिजन चाहिँ हाम्रो चाहिँ त्यो बेलामा चाहिँ उनीहरू धेरै जसो चाहिँ उनीहरू त्यहाँखेरिमा वर्ष दिनलाई खान नपाउने सबै इन्डियामा चाहिँ लाउडे झर्ने गर्छ, उतै जान्छन्, उतै गएपछि त यहाँ त एभाइलेबल हुनु पर्दैन। अनि यो लेबरको सिलसिलामा जस्तै अब हाई कास्टहरू चाहिँ लेबर गर्छ गर्दैनको कुराको यदि त्यो पनि सवाल हो भने त्यो पनि ठाउँ हेरिकन पछि फरक हुँदो रहेछ। काठमाडौँ भ्यालीका नेवारहरू चाहिँ लेबर काममा प्रायः जस्तो लाग्दैन, तर काठमाडौँ भ्यालीभित्रै मङ्गल बजारमा हामीले के अरे लेबर खोज्न गयो भने रामेछाप र ढारिङहरू त्यो नेवारहरू नै हुन्छ, प्रायः जस्तो चाहिँ डाम्रो बोकेर काम खोजिरहेनेहरू अब चाहिँ ठाउँ हेरिकन त्यो अवस्था फरक हुँदो रहेछ। त्यो काम लाग्ने इन्फर्मेसन हो भने तपाईँले पनि मलाई कुरो भनिदिएको मात्रै।
मैले हात देखिनँ, अब त्यस कारण मैले आजको सेसन चाहिँ फर्मली क्लोज गर्छु। ईश्वरजीलाई हामी सबैको तर्फबाट धन्यवाद। फेरि फेरि आउनु होला।
थ्याङ्क यू सो मच।
सन्डे चाहिँ